What's quacking, guys? It's the TheDuckChris. Today we're going to talk about Giant's Foundry, which is the newest proposed minigame coming off the success of Guardians of the Rift. In the background, we're going to be doing some aerial fishing. Pretty basic activity, but it's something that I've gotten a lot better at recently after putting some tile markers and stuff down. So yeah, enjoy. But Giant's Foundry, another skilling minigame. Guardians of the Rift was really successful, so it's not really a surprise that they're thinking of something else to address another skill, which they feel maybe could use some improvement. And I don't think that's a bad approach. Guardians of the Rift was so successful because, it really revamped the skill and made it rewarding to do in a bunch of different ways, while by primarily buffing the existing traditional methods while also offering a new alternative, which is pretty interesting. But after looking through the blog, I kind of realized that the Giant's Foundry rewards as currently proposed do not do that. They do not provide a significant enough buff to make traditional smithing interesting or better in any way. We have the Cannonball mold, which makes cannonball smithing twice as fast. But I don't know if you have ever done any cannonball smithing. It's already horrendously slow. It's like 200k coins per hour or something like that. And if you're doing that twice as fast, it's still awful. It's still extremely slow and going to be not worth doing either for profit or for your own cannonballs. So I really don't think that's enough of a reward to make anyone really want to go for. Maybe bots. And the other reward that I saw that was the main reward was the Smithing Catalyst, which gives you double XP when smelting bars at a normal furnace, as well as taking half the coal. That's great, except that you smelt bars like 100 times slower at a normal furnace than at blast furnace. So even if you're getting double XP, it's not worth the time, the effort, the supplies to use a normal furnace. And that's not even counting the time it would take to collect these smithing catalysts by doing the minigame, since I'm assuming they're probably untradeable or for irons as well. So really, it's not going to be good at all, and I don't know why that these are the only two main rewards proposed. So I thought today I'd give a couple options for new rewards. Things that I thought might increase, the viability of traditional smithing, maybe make some people do it when they wouldn't have done otherwise. The first category I'll say we'll group these in is Incamdo hammer upgrades. So the Incamdo hammer, if you don't know, is a wieldable one-handed hammer that you can use for smithing, and you get it from the Below Ice Mountain area after doing that quest. And while I know this is a giant's thing and the hammer is a dwarf thing, I'm sure they could figure out a lore reason why those two kind of work together for some reason. Maybe the Incamdo dwarves were previously employed to help create giants' weapons and armor, so there's already some kind of connection there, being that they were the premier smiths of Gielinor. So Incamdo hammer upgrades. Basically, these would be attachments to the hammer that make the hammer give them extra effects. These could be maybe something like a recycler attachment, where when you use the hammer for smithing, it allows you to sometimes save a bar when you're smithing that item. This would be pretty useful. It'd save a lot of money when smithing. It doesn't have to be a huge chance, but it really adds up over time, and could be something that people are definitely willing to go for, because it'll give you more dart tips. Maybe if you're doing darts, it'll give you it'll just save you some money when you're doing plate bodies or 2H smithing or that sort of thing. And it's a very simple kind of attachment. How about a long-handled grip, and that lets you progress your work faster and more efficiently. So you have a small chance to smith two items at once if you have the grip attachment. This would let you, just increase your XP rate a little bit of bar smithing, speed it up a little bit, but again, doesn't have to be a huge chance, just something cool to go for and make the hammer a little more worth using. How about an alchemizer attachment? So it has a rare chance to instantly high alch the item that you just made with the hammer. And this would give, I guess, the coins back, but no magic experience or anything, obviously. This would be nice because a lot of times when you're bar smithing, you end up selling or alching those finished products. And instead of doing that, it lets you skip a step and you get the coins instantly in your inventory. Again, this one doesn't have to be a huge chance. It could just happen now and then, but definitely would be something nice to add on. The next category that I thought of was resource-based. So I thought you could have a new offhand item. Let's say it's called the Giant's Magnet. And when you're holding the item, you gain these metal shavings when smithing. So it's a stackable, untradeable resource. You're going to collect a little bit of them every now and then when you're smithing. And they can have a variety of effects. So maybe one effect for them is you can create armor spikes once you have enough shavings. And these armor spikes act as attachments for any best in slot boot. So that would be the Cerberus boots plus, I guess, let's add Guardian boots and Devout boots, because why not? And basically would add, let's say, a recoil effect to your best in slot boots. And it doesn't have to be the same strength as the current recoil, like 1 to 3 damage. It could just be 1 damage only. It could be charged, where you have to add new armor spikes every once in a while, or it could just be infinite, where you create these armor spikes as a one-time item with like 2,000 metal shavings, or like a high number, and then those spikes are tradable, and you can attach them. Oh, we got a clue. You can attach them to the boots whenever you want to create the upgraded boots. Obviously, you need some kind of smithing level to make the spikes out of the shavings. Another use for the shavings could be a giant statue. If anyone remembers the Strange Rock minigame from pre-EOC, this could be something like that, where you collect these shavings over time, and then once you have enough of them, you can create this statue, and then you get some rewards for making it. And then the statue falls down, and you go back to collecting the shavings again. This could even be a mini-boss, just like a short fight like Mimic or something like that, quick, where like once you make the statue, it comes to life and you fight it for some nice rewards. It could have like a jar of fire or something that is 1 in 2,000 and incredibly rare, and no one gets it and everyone complains, but that sounds fun, right? That sounds fun. Just like a fightable mini boss that you have to do some smithing to fight, and don't give it a pet because that's dumb, but just something cool. Or again, you could just leave it at the statue and you get some rewards every time you make the statue. Maybe some bars or something like that. Ores. You could also make the shavings into an ammunition source. So say you make these trap or metal shavings, and you can attach them to dragon arrows, and you create a new arrow called shrapnel arrows, and they're like the new best in slot arrow. That would be pretty cool. It would mean that you would need a high fletching level to make the arrows. Obviously they would just be tradable, but it would take the fletching and the smithing to actually get the materials to make them. So again, these are like now a best in slot ammunition that only comes from skilling, with the addition of like you're upgrading dragon arrows, so it's not like dragon arrows are dead content. And maybe these could also work as brutal arrows for the purpose of chompy hunting, because brutal arrows, we know, like are with nails and stuff, so it's already like having a sharp piece of metal on the end. So maybe these arrows, shrapnel arrows, could be also usable for chompy hunting. Would be a nice little upgrade. And then the final idea I had for the metal shavings was armor trimming, which is kind of like a funny thought that people have always had, like, oh, I can trade my armor to this guy who has a high smithing level and he can trim my armor for me. But like, what if that was actually true? What if you had a lot of metal shavings that you collected, you could trim your own armor, and maybe this would only be melee armor because it's metal, and maybe you could have just like one or two options for trimming like the certain armors, like best in slot armors, or even just rune armor, even though no one wears that. Like maybe if you make it look cool enough, then it's like a nice fashion item, or a dragon or something like that. But since we already have trimmed versions of those armors, then maybe not. Why not apply it to Bandos, Torva, even Barrows, something like that? And it doesn't have to be like something crazy, like a complete revamp. It could just look slightly different. Yeah. So armor trimming, that would be fun, right, guys? Other options that you could have as rewards for Giant's Foundry. I've heard some people talk about silversmithing gauntlets. I feel like that, like, sure, you could add it because goldsmith gauntlets exists, but it's basically just like, it doesn't change anything. You're still smithing silver. It's still free XP at the end of the day. Like, I don't see that as a very big, it doesn't change the game at all. It's not creative. It's just like, sure, I guess it's something you could go for. You could offer like a portable anvil with limited charges that only you could use. That could be useful somewhere like Myth Dragons, Addy Dragons, where there's a lot of bars dropped, but like they're not always noted. And so maybe you bring a personal anvil, you can smith stuff and alch it. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think the Giant's Foundry, like, it needs something that everyone is going to want in terms of, if you're smithing, you want these items. I think it's a good idea that Jagex has taken the approach to not try and buff Blast Furnace, because Blast Furnace is already the best method, and they want more to buff like the existing methods that people do, but they're not the best, and maybe bring them a little closer. I think that's a great idea. I think there's lots of potential in ways that you can improve bar smithing, and even I didn't mention anything for like furnace smelting, because again, I think it's like not even close to comparable to Blast Furnace, but I'm sure there's something you could do besides just giving double XP, which is honestly not enough of a benefit, even with the coal saving. So yeah, that's basically the ideas I have so far. Again, that was some attachments for the hammer, being the recycler, the grip, or the alchemizer, and then metal shavings, resource which you could use to make maybe armor spikes, maybe a statue, maybe some arrows, or even your own armor trimming service. Overall, I think I'm not going to get too much into the rest of the minigame. I do think it will be good because Guardians of the Rift was good, and it seems like they have a good handle on what makes a minigame interesting without making it too overpowered or too, confusing. Even though like the blog for Guardians of the Rift was definitely confusing, and the blog for this is definitely confusing. There's just too many parts. We're going to have to be able to actually play it before we can understand what's going on. In the current state of rewards, I'm honestly tempted to kind of vote no, just because there's no point to this minigame existing if there's no good rewards. It would just be another piece of either dead content or just an XP farming method that exists solely to replace other smithing methods. But if they can come up with some more interesting rewards, then I think it would be a great piece of content add to the game. If you enjoy listening to my ideas, if you have any of your own ideas, please subscribe, leave your comments, and post your own rambles and stuff. I'd love to hear it. And until next time, peace.